Moving on to our question 5, that is on our section C. Remember, on our section C, it requires us to answer one question in this section. So we have got question 5 and 6, and you are supposed to choose only one question. So according to this video, we are going to start on question 5, which is on business ventures. We have got a scenario that you are given here that you need to go through before you start to answer the question. So the essay question reads, write an essay on the benefits of establishing a company over the forms of ownership, over other forms of ownership, taking the following aspects into consideration. You have got the first point is elaborate on the meaning of memorandum of incorporation. The second point, explain the legal requirements of the name of the company. And on the third one, discuss the benefits of establishing a company over other forms of ownership. And then lastly, advise on the procedure of the formation of companies. We see that our question has got a total of 40 marks. So we have 40 marks as indicated here. So obviously, this is an essay question. You have to start with your introduction, and then you go to the main part, and then lastly, you're supposed to end with your conclusion. So in terms of our introduction, remember you can come up with the meanings of any business term that you see in the question. So see that we have got memorandum of incorporation that we can define in the introduction. But since from the point 1 to the last point, it indicates the main part. So obviously, in the main part, we also have the issue of coming up with the meaning of the memorandum of incorporation. So we cannot define that in the introduction, since the main part is mentioning something about the meaning of the term. So we can come up with an alternative introduction that we have here, whereby you can come up with an introduction by saying entrepreneurs should conduct research on the advantages and disadvantages of each form of ownership so that they can select a suitable form of ownership. There are many advantages to establishing a company that is starting another type of business. The name of the company must be registered before it can be incorporated. And you can also come up with any other relevant introduction that can also be correct. So this is what then you go to the main part, whereby the first point reads, explain the legal requirements of the name of the company. In terms of the legal requirements, it is the second point that we have. So we're going to start with the first point, which says elaborate on the meaning of the memorandum of incorporation. And we know that the memorandum of incorporation is a document that sets out the rights, the duties, and responsibilities of shareholders, directors, and other people that are involved in a company. So that is mainly what we see in the memorandum of incorporation. But in terms of its meaning, we have it articulated in another section, whereby it reads, the MOI, which is the Memorandum of Incorporation, serves as the constitution of a company. So if it serves as a constitution of a company, it means it sets out all what is going to transpire in the running of that company. And then we have got companies are governed according to the rules stated in the Memorandum of Incorporation. Memorandum of Incorporation includes information about the company's name, registered office, and records. That is the third point that we have. And then on the next point, memorandum of incorporation describes the relationship between the business and its stakeholders. And also, if we move on to the next one, memorandum of incorporation describes the rights, responsibilities, and duties of the shareholders and directors. And then we go to the last point, which is saying memorandum of incorporation provides details about incorporation, the number of directors, and the share capital. So this is what we have on the part of the meaning of incorporation. We go to the next point. It reads, explain the legal requirements of the name of the company. What are the legal requirements that should be there for it to be regarded as a name of a company? So we have those legal requirements also stated in the other section, whereby we're saying the company's name must appear on all documents, for example, on letterheads. That is the first requirement, and that is a legal requirement. The second part, reserving a name for a company, is the first step to registering a company, but it is not compulsory. And then the next one, the names can be reserved for a period of 6 months by the CIPC. and then the name must not be similar or same as any other company unless it is part of the group. So make sure that the name that you come up with for your company is not similar or the same with the name of other companies. And then the name must not imply, suggest, or mislead a person to believe that the company is part of another person, business, or the state. So these are some of the legal requirements that we have. And of course, we have got a continuation of those legal requirements whereby we are saying we have got other points that we can also include in terms of legal requirements of the name of the company as stated on this part, and it's a continuation of those legal requirements. Then with that, we can move on to the next part whereby it reads, discuss the benefits of establishing a company over other forms of ownership. What are the benefits that we have of establishing a company over other forms of ownership? Remember, a company is a big business, and obviously it attracts good talent in terms of skilled and qualified workers. So that can also be an advantage that you can deduce from establishing a company. So we have got those advantages that we have in another section, whereby obviously these advantages or benefits are we're having them over other forms of ownership. Remember, we can have a partnership as another form of ownership. We can have a sole trader as another form of ownership. So, what are the advantages we have in terms of having a company over those other forms of ownership? The first one is legal status and liability. That is the first one that we have, whereby it reads the company has its own legal status, a trading name, and own its assets. And second point, shareholders' private assets are protected as they have limited liability. Remember, we are saying whenever there's limited liability, if the company becomes insolvent, the personal assets of the owners of the business cannot be taken to settle those debts. So we have got owners of a company being shareholders, so their private assets are protected. And then we've got that the shareholders have no direct legal responsibility, and then companies have their own names, and these are protected. So this is what we have under legal status and liability as a benefit that we have over other forms of ownership. Then we've got also the profit, the issue of the profit sharing. What benefit can we deduce in terms of profit sharing is that shareholders share in the profits of the company through dividends. So you see that the shareholders they have their own shares that they get from the profits that are being made for the business. So basically, these are the returns that are being are given to the owners of the company, which are the shareholders. So obviously, the advantage is that by running a company, you also by running a company as the owner, you also earn returns from it in the form of dividends, which is an advantage. And then we go to the next one, which is in the on the basis of ownership and management, whereby we're saying shareholders are able to buy and sell shares freely in a public company. And then the company is managed by qualified and competent board of directors. So this is good talent that we're talking about. And then when the company is less likely to use consultants as it has a larger pool of skills and expertise, directors are more likely to take risks and allow growth opportunities for the business. So on the basis of capital and cash flow, as a benefit, a company has more investors to fund the setting up of the business, and the company has a better cash flow than sole traders. A company is not limited to the individual contribution of the members' capital, and then the long-term growth opportunities for companies are really good, as there are always possibilities of getting in more investors. So this is what we can deduce from a capital and cash flow coming in as a benefit of a company over other forms of ownership. So moving on, you will see that uh, we have that as the other benefits that we have. We can also have other benefits that we can deduce in terms of lifespan and continuity. And also we have got the issue of taxation. What benefits do we have in terms of taxation, and also in terms of lifespan and continuity? We can also include that as our benefits of having a company over other forms of ownership. So moving on to the next one, the next point that we have. On the next point, it says advice on the procedure of the formation of companies. What are the procedures on the formation of a company? So we are saying you should determine the people establishing the company. So there should be people that are establishing the company, and that is the procedure for the formation of a company. And also reserve a company name with the registrar of companies. There should be a company name for you to have a company. So before you run a company, there should be a name that you should come up with. And then prepare a memorandum of incorporation. Remember, memorandum of incorporation, we said, is the constitution of that company. So it should be there before it starts to operate. File a notice of incorporation, obtain a unique registration number. All companies must be registered with the registrar of companies. Obviously, you have to register with the registrar of companies and open a bank account and register for taxation. It's also a necessity. Then also draw up prospectus for potential investors. So this is what we have in terms of the procedures of the for the formation of a company. So moving on to see that this is the last part that we have according to the requirements of the main part. So the main part ends here in particular according to this video. That's where we have got the end of our main part. So I will go to the conclusion. So on the conclusion, you are just concluding your essay. So we have got a typical conclusion that we can come up with, and that is that we have here, which reads: the directors of a private company should keep abreast of the latest legislation on the management of companies. Company becomes a legal person once registration is taken place. Remember, alternatives that you can have in terms of coming up with a conclusion, you can give recommendations in terms of the matter that we're discussing in the main part. So it can be a recommendation, it can be an appreciation in terms of the essay topic that we are looking at. So basically, that's what we have in terms of our essay question number 5. And of course, according to this question paper, we still have another essay that we want to look at, that is on question 6.